You know, with all the genres and types of movies I cover on here, there is one specific facet of film that I continue to have a love-hate relationship with. This specific area might not always capture the collective audience's attention with its releases, but it's something I've no doubt noticed and had to contend with over the years. And this specific focus concerns the rise of children's media in the film space as its popularity grows. Now, if you know me, you'll know that I am not one of those people who discriminates in the coverage I pursue on this channel. I cover and review all types of movies regardless of audience or inherent focus, and for this reason, I've reviewed my fair share of kids' movies over the last several years as well. Now, unlike many other critics in the space, I don't inherently look down upon the idea of children's movies. Rather, in many such instances of coverage, I've actually been surprised how much I've enjoyed movies of this caliber. And better yet, how many of them have actually managed to surprise me somewhat. Indeed, although many people are first in line to call the majority of kids' media lazy and superficial, I've found that oftentimes filmmakers in the space are willing to experiment with the format and constraints of the genre to deliver media that is no doubt full of intrinsic artistic worth, regardless of the target audience. Yet, although this is surely present in many samples from the space, I cannot say that this is correct for all samples in the space. Indeed, I've had to sit through my fair share of kids' movies that leave me baffled on not only the execution, but the intent behind them. You see, there seems to be no really middle ground when it comes to kids' movies nowadays. Either they work, or they fall into a trap of parody that seems to have no end. While it's true that many hold value in terms of intent and purpose in portraying these stories to all demographics and ages, others seem to be caught in a self-repeating spiral where it seems a juvenile focus is all these filmmakers can rely on to convey these stories. For this reason, my relationship with the genre itself has been fairly convoluted in recent years, and this was no exception when I first came across the information for Paw Patrol the Dino Movie, which releases in theaters this weekend. Now, let me start off this review by saying that I was actually not planning on seeing or reviewing this movie. I am clearly not the target audience for anything Paw Patrol related, and I am too old to have grown up in the demographic that is familiar with this show from their childhood. However, I no doubt have been aware of its presence in the pop culture space and the popularity the show itself has carved out. However, for these reasons, I was not inherently trying to seek out a viewing of this film in any capacity. That is, however, until I saw that a local theater was hosting an early screening of the film a week before its release. And this led me to wonder, if I walked in completely blind to a Paw Patrol movie with an open mind, would I be able to discern any value or worth from the end product? And if you clicked on this video, well, you no doubt know what happened. Indeed, I sat down in an auditorium on Saturday afternoon to catch a screening of Paw Patrol the Dino Movie, and my excitement could not be contained. Sitting there as the pre-roll advertisements appeared on screen, I genuinely didn't know what I was getting myself into. However, with a goal in mind to fairly analyze the film as I do all media on this channel, I prepared myself as the movie started to fully grasp everything the film was trying to accomplish with ease. However, it does not please me to report that Paw Patrol the Dino Movie did nothing to inherently impress me. In fact, I would go so far as to say this film is quite literally an indication and example of how far the children's entertainment space has drifted, in which something so vapid, shallow, and superficial has been released on unsuspecting audiences with nothing inherently meaningful to drive you along from start to finish. Indeed, as I sat in my theater watching the film, I genuinely received an end product that is no doubt an example of what not to do in this genre specifically. And as we'll shortly get into, this sentiment arrives in many different areas throughout the film's runtime. Paw Patrol the Dino Movie once again follows Chase, Marshall, and the rest of the beloved Paw Patrol characters as they embark on an adventure that will take them beyond the reaches of their home into a world entirely different from anything they recognize. As the team finds themselves on a remote island filled to the brim with prehistoric dinosaurs, they will have to learn more about the species if they want to save the animals from the threat of the villainous humdinger. Now, to start off this review and to add context to my position on the film, let me describe to you the exact type of movie that this is. Paw Patrol the Dino Movie, to put it bluntly, thinks that its audience is stupid. Simply put, there is no getting around this. This is a movie that genuinely treats unintelligence as a signaling factor for so much of its rampant madcap intensity and nonsense. Zero effort whatsoever has been placed into telling a story that actually feels motivated or driven by any fashion. Instead, this movie is an amusement park ride that just whips viewers along from point to point without stopping long enough to let us relish in anything complex within its plot or story. I mean, I'm telling you, it's genuinely such a weird phenomenon to watch a movie like this where the dialogue and plot progression has zero weight to the events transpiring on screen. Sure, there's a quote plot line here, but the storyline is quite literally blatant and serves no interest in letting audiences discern or mull over anything by themselves. This is a movie that also carries no interest in a thematic undertone that does not beat audiences over the head with what it has to say. In children's media of the past, many filmmakers utilize a deeper thematic core to underlay a message that audiences discern for themselves throughout the progression of the plot, which can actually be quite powerful when used effectively. This film, however, quite literally does the exact opposite. This is the type of movie where a talking dog will quite literally say the main point, idea, or theme of a scene out loud, and then almost look directly into the camera in a non-subtle nod to see if audiences actually get it. Like they'll say, "That's the power of friendship." You see what I mean? And while I can't speak for the target audience of this film, I found this exercise to be mind-numbing in the worst ways imaginable. Now, I hate to use the term mindless to describe most entertainment, but here I find it actually encapsulates so much of what this movie is seeking to achieve with ease. And this is because there's no thought placed into the core of Paw Patrol the Dino Movie. It's genuinely just cinematic cotton candy. It tastes good, is pure sugar, and is literally quite colorful, but it leaves you feeling so hollow and empty inside after digesting it. Where's the substance here? Where's the weight? Where's the actual dramatic stakes driving this storyline along? Like, are we so focused on the incorrect assumption that young audiences are unintelligent that will dumb down a story beyond all reason? Kids and young audiences are so much smarter than this movie actually gives them credit for. And it's quite blatant how shallow and superficial such a project plays itself for the majority of its runtime. To add context to this, I want to address the fact that at my screening of the film before the movie even started, a genuine toy advertisement played for the tie-in products attached to the film in its marketing campaign. And the purpose of this was clear. Kids will see this advertisement before the movie and will then rush their parents out to stores to shell out money towards crossover toy lines and merchandise unlike any other. While in premise at the moment, I first didn't think anything inherently special of this practice, it continued to rear its ugly head in the back of my mind as the film progresses. And this is because if you look out for it as the movie plays, you will be able to tell the blatant product placement that is occurring right before your eyes. For an example, look no further than the gadgets, technology, and vehicles that the Paw Patrol utilize in the film. The way these items are rendered, drawn, and contextualized in this environment allows them to stand out with ease. Kids in the audience will see these items in the film and think, wow, that's so cool. And that's when toy companies will no doubt release tie-in merchandise that are these same exact items as well. When watching Paw Patrol the Dino Movie, I was immediately struck by the fact that I was watching a legitimate hidden infomercial where everything is for sale and nothing is off the table. And while I can't speak for all audiences out there, I personally could not ignore these clues the film played before me. With every second, I was recognizing with a deep horror and sadness that not a single ounce of this movie is instilled with anything that actually cares about its audience or the value of the cinematic experience overall. Instead, it's a bizarre amalgamation that blurs the line between tasteful entertainment and shameless cross-promotion, treating its viewers as nothing more than consumers intent on purchasing the next great thing in the Paw Patrol franchise or universe. And yet, this is just the icing on the cake in terms of the problems that this film brings to the table. When watching the film, there was a disconcerting effect that started to take hold throughout the runtime that I could not shake anymore. And upon reflection of the film, I find that, more than anything, this specific element of the film stands at complete odds with what you traditionally expect from media of this caliber. Whether accidentally or purposefully, it seems that the inherent messaging that Paw Patrol the Dino Movie presents its young audience with is borderline distasteful and confusing when placed inside this context. Now, I know that this is a wild claim for a movie of this caliber because it's Paw Patrol after all, so let me do my best to place this into context for you. As we've touched upon, this installment of the Paw Patrol franchise focuses on the team as they discover a secret island in the middle of the ocean, where dinosaurs still freely roam the earth as their domain. This brand new ecosystem has never been touched by humans before, and the dogs are in awe and wonder as they see this brand new world and environment for themselves. So, what does the team immediately decide to do to this world that has never seen any outside visitor before? They immediately invite tons of humans to the island for quote research and development. And I don't know about all audiences out there, and maybe I'm reading too far into it for a Paw Patrol movie, but I get a decidedly off tone from this plot approach alone. In the scene where the humans arrive on the island, massive ships and cargo containers dock off the shores of the island. Scores of humans traverse the beach with their impact who are inexperienced and underprepared for this environment. These humans then set up massive encampments in cities full of cages, tents, massive camper setups, and all sorts of technological advancements that cut through what the natural world in that environment expects. And above all, and more irresponsibly, these scores of scientists traverse the island without a care in the world, getting way too up close and personal with these creatures with no rhyme or reason as to the safety of both themselves and the creatures that inhabit the island. While it's true that many might not glance at this element of the film with any real fascination behind it, I do find there's something to be said about the fact that this film is fairly irresponsible in its messaging to young audiences in relation to this subject matter. That the film's first thought when when encountering an atmosphere that has not been introduced or exposed to humanity is just to invite humanity in without a care as to their impact on the environment is slightly concerning. And that the film never inherently focuses on or resolves this is also disarming as well. When watching these sequences, I was immediately struck by how this basically feels as if you were watching the scenes from the Lost World Jurassic Park, where Peter Ludlow's team lands on the island and starts capturing dinosaurs and setting up a massive camp, but instead played as if this is all a net positive instead. I think filmmakers in this space need to be slightly more careful and conscious about the type of inherent messaging we're presenting, and while I seriously doubt that this was the filmmaker's blatant intent behind this, it's the type of cursory imaging that needed another draft to fully reconcile the issues this raises to viewers. I do admire that the film at least attempts to counteract this with the antagonist Humdinger in this specific plotline in terms of mining a rare diamond from the island, and exploring the natural impact that this has on the environment when he takes it for himself. But there seems to be a double standard in which the actions of this character are viewed as wrong, but when other humans are inherently interacting with the environment in a similar way, nothing is contextualized or challenged. And the film even includes a happy ending of sorts where nothing in this fashion is actually addressed or reconciled, which makes me think this was just an accidental serious oversight on the behalf of the team behind this film. Now, at this point in the review, I do want to give credit where credit is due. Paw Patrol the Dino Movie, for all intents and purposes, is far from being the worst movie I've seen this calendar year alone. There are at least some admirable attempts to lift itself up from mediocrity that deserve recognition as such. For one, I found that the film's attempt at adding characterization of Marshall the fire dog was nothing short of inspired. As a character, Marshall is known as what is a clumsy pup. It's a sentiment repeated at several points in the film by other characters, and you see this very notion in the execution from Marshall as well. However, in a rare and motivated character turn for a movie of this caliber, the film actually goes to great lengths to establish Marshall's turn as someone who steps into his full potential, with a sequence towards the end of the film that is ultimately quite moving and layered. It's the one point of this film that actually feels complex and grounded in any capacity, and I at least respect the angle even if it doesn't turn the tide completely in favor of the film. I also found myself falling in love with the adorable Rex, a new character who is actually a dog within a wheelchair. I found his energy to be playful without stepping over a line of annoyance like many side characters in kids media, which allowed him to be a memorable and much needed breath of fresh air in an otherwise stale and stagnant product. And ultimately, being an animated film after all, credit is due towards the artistic vision on display here. Although the story might not convey it itself, the animation here is without a doubt gorgeous. There's so much depth and expression to the composition of environments and tone, and the dog characters themselves are insanely detailed and expressive in every moment. It's also worth noting that the talented cast of child actors who voice the young pups nonetheless knock their roles out of the park, which is a rarity for me to say, as I mostly find child actor performances to be often tedious or lackluster in many regards. The same, however, cannot be said for the variety of celebrity cameos and appearances here that bog down the end product and stand at odds in several portions in the film. However, I cannot in good faith make the claim that Paw Patrol the Dino Movie is boring in any capacity. Sure, the storytelling on display is incredibly lazy and superficial in context, but I'd be lying if I said that this pacing bogs down the story considerably in any real fashion. It's an incredibly quick movie at 1 hour and 28 minutes, and honestly, that's probably the best thing going for it. Overall, Paw Patrol the Dino Movie might not have offered me what I was seeking out of this experience, but as it stands, I'm not entirely sure of what the point of this frivolous cinematic exercise is either. While the movie is surely going to entertain kids looking to jump back into this colorful world, it's also worth mentioning that this is far and away scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of cinematic merit in this space. Now, I'm sure many people are going to be saying, oh, you expected far too much out of a Paw Patrol movie and didn't appreciate it for what it is, which is just children's entertainment. And this could not be farther from the truth even if it tried. I truly recognize the impact and potential that this will have to sway and entertain young audiences. And on that level, I appreciate its goals on a surface level. However, I do think it's quite ridiculous to make the claim that all children's media, especially this, should be exempt from criticism, especially considering how there are so many other samples within the space alone that offer an abundance of wealth and value over something that basically lives and breathes like a toy commercial. While parents who take their kids to the multiplex this weekend will surely not feel as if their money was wasted, as it holds short attention spans and is a break to get out of the house surely, there is also a conversation that needs to be had about when enough is finally enough in this space, and when filmmakers will finally treat their target audience in this genre with the respect they ultimately deserve. That's why I'm giving Paw Patrol the Dino Movie a 2 out of 5 stars. Paw Patrol the Dino Movie is in theaters everywhere this Friday. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this review on my channel. If you're new around here and you like the content you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on push notifications. Also, leave comment suggestions down below for future video, essay, and review topics. With that being said, until next time, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.